Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
If I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? The eCam program that I use, I just did a major update on it and I couldn't figure out how to get the stream started. I had to go Dr. Google it. I need to scoot over. I'm not really in frame very well. Well, I hope you all are doing well. This is going to be, and now it's giving me all these little tip screens, you know, when you do like, I don't need any of that. Leave me alone. I'd like to see if the chat is working with this upgrade. So I do see a couple of you are watching. If someone could stick something in chat, it would be greatly appreciated. And if I don't acknowledge it, maybe shoot me a Facebook message that I'll get my little 007 watch here. But again, this will be a shorter than normal stream, which means regular time, right? For me, because my streams, oh, look, Bunchy is nice and chill and slow. Because, you know, I'm knee-deep in the middle of LNC minutes that I am trying to get done in order to submit through auto-approval, just because I'm just so ultra-competitive with myself. That's, like, not actually the deadline, but it's my deadline kind of thing. And the Colorado Convention is this weekend. So we just had our last convention, and I do see... I didn't pick the woodchuck one, did I? I hope not. The woodchuck one I think is for tomorrow, but yes, woodchucks must be welcome in our inclusive society, and we will talk about ending woodchuck bigotry. Hopefully I didn't hit the wrong stream. This is a history one tonight. I'll have to double check that later. Excuse me. Oof. I had two events scheduled at the same time, so Yeah, we're going to do some history tonight. Colorado Convention this weekend. But I hadn't done my sponsors for a while because I figured, things get a bit old. So now that it's a bit fresh again, I want to remind you about my friend Sean Dempsey in New Hampshire, who is a children's book author who wrote these adorable children's books. So if you have a young person in your life that you want to introduce to liberty concepts without being overly political, I would highly recommend these two books. You can get them on Amazon, and it is The Tale of Two Brothers and Anna with one N and The Storm. And again, it's by Sean Dempsey, SeanDempsey. And thank you so much, Sean, for being a sponsor of the show. And hello, Samuel. And I haven't really talked to anyone after the Alabama convention. Let me know what happened. Our congratulations in order. And I'd like to do the YouTuber thing. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not already. It really does help. And like and share the show. Particularly subscribe and like. That really helps the algorithm. You can always find me on my social medias. I'm Karen Ann Harlos everywhere. Twitter right now is where Twitter's fire right now. Twitter is... Follow me on Twitter. And last but certainly not least, I would really appreciate your Patreon support. That is patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. So without further ado, we are going to continue in this, and hello Logic Rex, we're going to continue in this LP news. And I had said before we were going to do this entire section. I'm not so sure if I'm going to do that tonight. And yes, so congratulations to the new chair of the Alabama affiliate that is in chat. But we're going to at least start with the article, and we'll see how long it is. Because, literally, I've got a 10-hour meeting to do minutes for, and I'm at, the 4-hour and 10-minute mark, and I'm supposed to have them done in 2 more days. Yeah. Okay, so some optimism or some reasons for optimism on the LP's future. And if you've been looking at the recent changes, Sam, on Lpedia, you can see while I'm listening to minutes, I'm also doing Lpedia updates. Because that's how I roll. And this is also how I roll, with a little bit of wine. Alrighty, so this is from the chair at the time, Ed Crane. So some reasons for optimism on the LP's future. Oh my God, this print is just so tiny. But let's see if the same reasons for optimism still exist today. Yes, I still do have the cough, quite obviously. 50 years later. So it has been demonstrated many times in the pages of LP News that the time is ripe for a new political movement in the United States. And what's funny is you can hear, listen, I'm not ragging on us. You got to laugh or you'll cry. You hear the same thing coming out of the new political parties today, like the Forward Party. Don't ask me what they stand for. They're just forward, whatever that means. Okay. The opinion polls indicate this. Columnists write about it. And logic would seem to confirm it. Nevertheless, there is nothing like actually witnessing political events firsthand to get a true appreciation of where things stand. During the past 2 months, my travels around the country on behalf of the Libertarian Party have provided me with an excellent opportunity to view both the current state of conservative politics and the progress being made by the LP. I'll say it once again, it's not something that's my particular bailiwick, but back when the LP started, it was squarely considered to be in the conservative movement. Or more to the right than to the left, though they certainly were openly courting the non-totalitarian left, or the social left, as it were. I suppose there's no way to prevent my analysis of the situation from being biased, but I have become more convinced in the past several weeks that the future belongs to libertarianism than I can recall ever having been in my generally optimistic life. Okay. We have the porcupine. So I don't know. I suppose we have a George Quilly's. I suppose we could also have the honey badger. First, I'm convinced that the conservatives are not prepared to meet the market demand for a new party. A contingent of libertarians, myself included, represented the LP at the ballyhooed 1975 Conservative Political Action Conference. Is that CPAC? Is that what CPAC stands for? If so, there it was in 1975 in Washington, D.C., February 13th through 16th. The event was attended by 500 conservative activists from around the country and was billed implicitly as the organizing convention for a conservative third party. Interesting. If it's the same CPAC that we're talking about today, that's strictly now a Republican event. It's not any kind of third party event. And then he said, not quite. At a time when the Republican Party has taken Senator Howard Baker's advice and is doggedly pursuing a non-ideological, non-partisan, base broadening drive to oblivion. And that is a lesson for us, isn't it? You cannot be non-ideologically driven in order to broaden your base, to appeal to more people. It's one of those contradictions in life. Let's do the Star Wars quote. The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. The more you broaden your base, the less you stand for a damn thing and you lose everybody. Okay. The conservatives showed virtually no enthusiasm for their cause or appreciation for the opportunity that the times afford them. 12 years ago, when the conservatives still had some allegiance to principles, albeit inconsistent ones, they would have shaken the rafters. Wouldn't it be shook? Shaken the rafters. That doesn't sound right. Is that like 1970 style talking? Shaken the rafters. I think to be shook the rafters of the Mayflower Hotel. Now, the conservative movement that has endorsed Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew as brothers in the fold, and that hailed the ascendancy of a Jerry Ford to the presidency, has no principles left to rally around. The only thing that could get the adrenaline flowing in this group, where very few of them were under 40, was criticism of Nelson Rockefeller. The only statement that could muster a standing ovation during the entire conference was when Meldrum Thompson, the good old boy from New Hampshire, called for an interventionist foreign policy because God wills America to be number one. Oh, boy. When we're hearing the same crap today, aren't we? From particularly the more Trump-flavored people. I don't even want to think Trump-flavored before I put something in my mouth. So just give me a minute to cleanse my mental palate. Ugh. All right. So in my view, the conservative movement doesn't have the energy left to start a new party. It certainly can't be done without the support of leaders of that movement. Former Governor Ronald Reagan, Senator James Buckley, and Senator Barry Goldwater. All three men have been outspoken in their desire to work within the Republican Party. Reagan may well end up challenging Ford, but he will not head a new party movement. Even though they clearly don't agree with our platform, it was interesting to note the high degree of recognition the LP has achieved with those gathered at the CPAC, they called it. Now it's just called CPAC. It's not called the CPAC anymore, is it? The delegates, and do they have delegates to CPAC? I thought CPAC, well, you just show up. Like this, was this different then? The delegates were anxious to get information on the party, and many had questions concerning our activities and plans. Oh, I love this. Question from them. Would you join a conservative coalition? Answer. No, we're not conservatives. We're not. but the LP was widely at that time considered that. A lot of people today still think that without realizing we're something different. When I say we're not conservatives, that doesn't mean we're progressives. We're neither. We're something completely different. Two of the more articulate speakers at the conference were Yale Brosen, a member of the LP's Board of Economic Advisors, and Jim Davidson, a libertarian and head of the American Taxpayers Union. I was encouraged to note that several of the younger state legislatures present seem to have strong libertarian leanings. Woody Jenkins from Louisiana and Butch Otter from Idaho are two who already qualify as libertarians and are active in rolling back the government in their respective states. In sharp contrast, and these both said small libertarians. Before the party really had state parties in each party, it was really understandable why they so easily attributed the label libertarian to actual Republicans. We don't really do that today, and I'm glad we don't. And that's why people got so upset when Dave Smith endorsed Blake Masters. Though back then, if Blake Masters exists, he would have been soundly called a libertarian in LP News. Just letting you know. But we've grown since then. So don't say, oh, because it would have happened in 1975, it's okay today. No, it's not. You know, I roundly disagreed with that decision. I thought that was the wrong move altogether. I thought that was the wrong move. Airplane joke. Yes, I am old. Okay, continuing. Where was I? That really makes me sound old when I can't even... might be old, but I still got more wits than our demented president. In sharp contrast to the reception the LP received from the political conservatives in Washington, D.C., was the reaction to our presence by the economic conservatives at the 1975 Conference on International Liquidity and Monetary Reform. Woof, that's a mouthful. Held in New Orleans on March 13th through 16th. That conference, which was sponsored by the National Committee on Monetary Reform with assistance from the LP, interesting, so this was a single-issue coalition, was attended by 1,000 persons. In addition to being the largest event of its kind ever held and a major financial success for the LP, it also proved to be a significant political achievement for us. The LP suite was a major focal point throughout the conference, and numerous LP members, including an active group from the Louisiana LP, were busy proselytizing into the small hours of the morning, into the wee hours. Definitely calls for some wine. You do like Cersei. More wine. Ray Cunningham, West Coast coordinator for the newly formed presidential candidacy of Roger MacBride, sent hundreds of MacBride and 76 buttons to the conference, and by the time MacBride spoke to the Saturday night banquet, the buttons could be found on about every other delegate. MacBride's speech was a hard-hitting analysis of the inconsistencies of the conservative movement and the need to undertake a second libertarian revolution that would reject all government interference with voluntary human action. MacBride received a very sympathetic response from the general conservative audience. The Libertarian Party, he said, will radically change the direction of political debate in this nation. The question shall not be, shall the budget be $50 billion or $100 billion, but shall we cut the budget by $100 billion or $200 billion? The question shall not be, shall the Federal Reserve increase the money supply by 16% or by 5%, but shall we shut down the Fed's printing presses this Friday or this Thursday? Love it. MacBride received a thunderous standing ovation for his no-compromise speech, and he was the center of attention at a 3-hour cocktail party held in his honor following the banquet. I would have loved to have been there. I'm like just envisioning the 70s vibe, too. You can just imagine all the leisure suits and just awkward, haircuts. That would have been fun, though. And, Cocktail parties in the 70s, like, those were the shit. And there was a lot of just like, but there would have been way too much cigarette smoke. I mean, just, you know, oh God, I remember the 70s. Our experience in New Orleans made it clear to me that intelligent individuals, regardless of their previous political affiliations, can be attracted to the LP if only we take the time and effort to reach out to those millions of Americans who are seeking an alternative to the disastrous state of Republican and Democratic politics. I'm encouraged to report that there is a growing recognition of the potential for libertarian political action on the part of many LP members. One thing that was amazing about the LP is how quickly the brand got national prominence. Remember, this is March, April of 1975. The LP was officially formed December 11th, 1971, but didn't have its public debut until the end of January 1972. We ran a presidential candidate in 72, and by 75, like, we were pretty well known and getting a lot of press. It is way better than any third party's doing today. That is for certain. And that even includes, like, the Yang Gang, okay? We're forward. But what does that mean? Are my buttons still working?
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Okay. All right, where were we? Oh, during the last 2 months, I was fortunate to be able to attend LP state conventions in California, New York, and Florida. And speaking of Florida, I will be in Florida in 3 weeks. April 21st, that's 3 weeks, right? Or close enough, to be their convention parliamentarian for the 3rd year in a row. I thought it was the 4th year in a row. It's at least the 4th year in a row that I've went to the Florida convention, because I was there for 2020 for my secretarial race. And I think I was there in 2019, but I'm not sure. I know I was there in 2020, 2021, 2022, and now I'm there in 2023. I was their convention parliamentarian for 2021. It was at that convention when I learned of the New Hampshire coup. Both Stephen Nikala and I. Oh, God, I told the story so many times, but I'll never forget it. I'm sitting there on stage with him. He's chairing. All of a sudden, our phones both go at the same time. Ding. I can see us both look down discreetly, read the message, and then go like this to each other. Because the message was something to the effect of, what the hell is going on in New Hampshire? And a link. And you click the link, and it was that letter from Gilletta Jarvis. And we were like, and I said to Stephen, Mr. Chair, may I be excused for a moment? Because the Florida convention was calm. Like, I was there, but, like, it wasn't a contentious convention. So I went out in the hall, made some calls. I walk back into the convention, and all hell was broken loose. It's like the minute the parliamentarian leaves the room, everyone's like, woof! It was fun. It was fun. Love libertarians. In each case, I was struck by the fact that the individuals participating in these conventions were on the whole quite serious about the work they were undertaking. These were bright, energetic, committed libertarians who have gained experience and confidence after 3 years of organizing the LP in their states. The American public is ready for libertarianism, and the Libertarian Party is steadily building its capability to bring its message to America. That was a good article. That calls for some wine. And we are going to do the second part. We're going to get through this page. Even though I wanted to stop after a half hour, once I get into history, I like get in my happy place. I like start like all stressed out, and by the time like I'm into it, I'm like, yeah, this is me. And I was laughing in my head because you might have seen my tweet if you're following my Twitter, which you should be, where I said, now here's a phrase I never thought I'd type into the minutes. Vice Chair Watkins was presented with an engraved ceremonial codpiece in recognition of his ascension. I did not think the words engraved ceremonial codpiece would ever be in a set of minutes. But there they are. Life needs more ceremonial engraved cod pieces, in my opinion. All right, building an information arsenal. Let's see what an information arsenal was considered in the 1970s by Bill Evers. The key to political organizing. God, and this is so weird. I'm like still getting used to this new iteration of this program. Like they moved all my buttons. Don't be moving my buttons. Okay, the key to political organization is mobilizing popular support for principled action on concrete issues. All such issues being chosen for their utility in shifting attitudes in the direction of a larger social transformation. Libertarians usually have a good grasp of principles, but often they are weak in their knowledge of the factual circumstances that surround current issues and have brought such issues to public attention. Like, that sentence was gobbledygook to me. Like, I'm pretty I might use some highfalutin words, but in general, my communication style is pretty straight, pretty blunt. Like, when it gets all fancy pants and corporate, I can't. Like, what did that paragraph even mean? Okay, libertarians understand principles, but they don't understand the facts regarding how the issue. I forget about it. We're just going to move on. Of course, it is difficult to keep track of the massive number of political events that occur. But one advantage of working in an organization like the Libertarian Party, that sentence could have been reduced to an advantage of working in the Libertarian Party. You didn't need all those extra words. Is that large and difficult tasks can be divided up to be worked on. Through organization, we can multiply our strength. God, that sounds communist. I know, this guy's not a communist, but I mean, it's just that style of sloganeering. Through organization, we can multiply our strength. Yes, comrade. Okay, the subtitle of the next section is filing system. Okay, we're not dealing with computers. This is the 70s. Filing system. Okay, get yourself some good filing cabinets. Every state organization and important county organization should have a filing system in which it collects information on political figures and issues in its area. In every state, there is some major newspaper which offers the best coverage of what is happening in that state's capital. That newspaper should be subscribed to, diligently read, and clipped. So 1970s. Some states have specialized magazines devoted to state politics. Two examples are the California Journal and the Empire State Report. In 1975, the California Journal has had articles on such topics as the prospects for lessening marijuana penalties, the state educational bureaucracy, how and where students are voting, and what it takes to launch and float a third party. It would be interesting to read that article today. Let's see if we can find that. I'm going to circle that as something to come back to. Knowledge of such subjects is the stock in trade. Is the phrase stock in trade? I always thought it was stock and trade. Have I been saying it wrong my whole life? Don't you hate when that happens, when you learn you've been saying something wrong your whole life? So, stock in trade. Okay, here, Dr. Google, stock in trade or stock and trade? It is stock in trade. I always said stock and trade. What about you guys? It says that's a common error in English usage. I just learned something. I've always said stock and trade. It's stock in. Okay. Of day-to-day serious politics. In clipping and filing articles, libertarian activists should watch especially for what are likely to be long-term issues, e.g., land use controls or the legal rights of homosexuals. In the U.S., national issues intermingle with local and state issues to a very large degree. excellent coverage of national policy disputes can be found in the National Journal reports and the Congressional Quarterly Weekly reports. Major newspapers like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post are also valuable on national issues, as are public opinion journals like The Nation, Human Events, and National Review. Local LP organizations at the state and county level can and should assemble tabulations, which evaluate the voting records of legislators. Aldermen, city council members, county supervisors all have made policy decisions. The systematic gathering of these records into a coherent record permits an evaluation of that record. Once this sort of down-to-earth information is put together in a filing system from which it can be retrieved, it becomes useful in political organizing and publicity work. This tiny print makes it so easy to lose your spot. Libertarianism is both a philosophy and a movement for social change. Philosophy is not only used to understand the world, it can also be used to change it. We have to take our rational political principles and apply them to current issues. We have to anchor our agitation and propaganda in real events. Now, that is, I'm probably going to tweet that out. That's a good phrase. That's much better than that, like, commie-sounding one earlier. With information on political controversies assembled and ready to be used, local LP units will be on firmer ground and putting out replies broadcast on radio and TV stations. The local Speakers Bureau will be able to offer speakers who have the facts at their command. Letters sent into newspapers can reflect a knowledge of the past history of controversies. State party platforms can bring libertarian principles to bear on issues being debated in that state. Local LP units can issue a steady stream of press releases, and that is still so important, on current events. States do not do that nearly enough. Press releases that will be respected by the news media because they reflect a thorough knowledge of the situation. Now people are going to be using that damn stupid chat program to write frickin' press releases. I know it. God, I hate that thing. I hate it. I hate it with fire. Without in any way minimizing what has just been said about putting together available knowledge on the present political situation, remember that local LP units, I don't like the word units, that's what they call parliamentary like groups, it's units, don't like it, derive a good part of their reason for existence and their impact from their place in the electoral process. All local LP units should be on the ballot. Ballot status gives us legitimacy in the eyes of the news media and the broad middle classes. It adds to our own coherence of purpose and keeps us oriented toward social change via practical politics and publicity. No matter who you are in your state or local organization, make sure information assembling and a ballot status drive are in the works in your state. If they aren't in progress yet, get your friends together and notify others that some people are now ready to begin work on these necessary projects. So if you translate that into from 1970s speak and technology into today, all of these facts are still valuable. You still need to gather this information. It just won't be by physically clipping out newspapers. But you should have an archive, whether it's just links, whether you PDF it, on the important issues that your state or local affiliate is working towards or has taken on as issues advocacy. All right, that is it for today. I really thank you guys for joining me, and I'm off to do some more minutes and bask in the ceremonial engraved codpiece. All right, you all, I hope you have an awesome night. And did I schedule the woodchuck episode for tomorrow? I couldn't remember if it's tomorrow or Thursday. I hope it's tomorrow. I might change it to tomorrow if it's Thursday. Can't remember. Maybe it was Thursday because I got to dye my hair on Thursday, but I could do both. See y'all soon. Bye-bye.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to